Coming up on Jerusalem Dateline, Ayatollah Khamenei's son appointed as the Islamic regime's new leader. Israel and the U.S. continue pounding infrastructure as Iran sends cluster bombs into Israel's center. And the Hezbollah terror campaign continues in the north. Plus, analysis by Yaakov Lappin on military strategy and by Rabbi Pesach Wolicki on how to pray. All this and more coming up on this edition of Jerusalem Dateline.
Hello and welcome to this edition of Jerusalem Dateline. I'm Chris Mitchell. Iran has appointed a new leader, the son of the Ayatollah Khamenei, while President Trump says the war could be ending soon. In the meantime, Israel and the U.S. continue targeting Iran's infrastructure, and Israelis run to bomb shelters daily. Here's the latest on these and other stories.
Iran named Mujtaba Khamenei, the second son of the former Ayatollah, as the next leader of Iran, who analysts say is more hardline than his father. President Trump says by getting rid of the Iranian regime, the U.S. will have gotten rid of a major cancer on the face of the earth.
We will take it out of cancer. Don't forget October 7th. Don't forget all of the things that have happened over the years, all caused by these people. So what we're doing is a great thing, not only for our country and not only for Israel, not only for the Middle East, but for the world.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu gave an address over the weekend saluting Israel's armed forces and commending citizens for their support. His spokesman David Mencer told CBN News Israelis are holding up under the pressure.
All of us here in Israel are united in supporting our armed forces and supporting the wisdom and the foresight of our Prime Minister and President Trump for getting this job done and ensuring that Iran can never again be a threat to this country.
Israel is targeting infrastructure sites in Tehran and elsewhere, including the IRGC Air Force headquarters and oil warehouse and depot. The war is taking an economic toll as the price of oil topped $100 a barrel. The Jerusalem Post reports an unnamed security official said Iran is unleashing a stepped-up terror campaign on Israelis abroad. We are seeing an Iranian removal of restraints that is almost unprecedented. No proxies, no filters. Where they can act, they act, whether with brazen determination or in a dirty manner. It is a fundamental change in approach because they feel they have nothing to lose right now, given what they have absorbed. Israel is adding new countries to its travel warnings, including several countries bordering or close to Iran, Armenia, Azerbaijan, and Georgia. Meanwhile, Iran and its proxy Hezbollah continue to launch missiles and drones at Israel, with most targeting the north and center of the country. Most missiles are intercepted, but even then, deadly shrapnel can fall. On Monday, in one such incident, at least one foreign worker was killed in Tel Aviv. Iran continues to strike targets in Arab nations, including a U.S. airbase in Kuwait and a desalination plant in Bahrain. A U.S. military service member died of injuries from an Iranian attack in Saudi Arabia last week. In Washington, D.C., President Trump and Vice President Vance attended the transfer of 6 soldiers who died in an attack on a base in Kuwait. Over the weekend, Israel also carried out more than 100 attacks on Hezbollah in Lebanon. 2 Israeli soldiers were killed, including a Druze soldier. In a pushback against the terror group, Lebanon adopted a decision banning Hezbollah military and security activities, showing an attempt by the government to position itself as the protector of national security. Julie Stahl, CBN News, Jerusalem.
Speaking to the press Monday, President Trump said the war in Iran is ahead of schedule and almost over.
Are you thinking this week it will be over?
No,
Are you talking
but soon.
about days?
I think soon.
Okay, and with respect
Very
to...
soon.
The president told Israeli news outlet Times of Israel that the final decision to end the war will be a mutual one between he and Prime Minister Netanyahu. As U.S. and Israeli forces continue to pound Iran on land and sea, the Strait of Hormuz has been frozen, causing oil prices to spike. In the U.S., gas prices are up 50 cents over the last week. The national average is $3.47 a gallon.
And I will not allow a terrorist regime to hold the world hostage and attempt to stop the globe's oil supply. And if Iran does anything to do that, they'll get hit at a much, much harder level.
Trump says he's unhappy with Iran's choice of Khamenei's son as their new supreme leader, and he's still not ruling out putting boots on the ground to force regime change for the Iranian people.
I'd love to help them, but they have to be in a system that allows them to be helped. And right now they're in a system that only allows failure. And I don't want that. And I want a system that's not going to be attacking us. We want a system that can lead to many years of peace. And if we can't have that, we might as well get it over with right now.
Iran continues to send drones at Israel and Arab nations, including 2 at Saudi Arabia and 6 at Kuwait today. All were shot down. The Jerusalem Post is reporting that Iran's attacks on other Gulf nations is improving Israeli relations with neighboring Arab countries. In Israel, people running for their lives after a barrage of 8 Iranian cluster bombs landed, mostly in the central part of the state, killing 2 people here Monday.
This is what a cluster bomb is designed to do. It literally rips through anything that it comes in contact with. What you're looking at are these holes in this metal sheeting here by this building, and it just blows it open. These are designed, these cluster bombs, to rip through metal, as you see, rip through vehicles, tanks in battle, and then obviously if you're a person, it could shred your body apart. And that's what happened here today.
And to give you an idea just how dangerous it is right now in much of Israel, we had to scramble to shelter in the middle of a CBN live shot.
We're using cluster bombs, and we're hearing, are those bombs going off right now? I don't know if you can hear the thud, but we're hearing something right. There's another one.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys hear this.
Yep.
Yeah. We just took cover moments ago. You can see the people they're taking cover right here, the camera crews. But there's another one and another one. Here, get over here. Yeah, this is going on now. We got to take cover, guys.
With Monday's fatality here, it brings the civilian death toll in Israel to 12. Paul Petit, CBN News, Central Israel.
According to our next guest, Israel and the U.S. have an unprecedented opportunity to wipe out Iran's military capabilities. He's Yaakov Lappin from the Lappin Assessment, and he explained what needs to happen during this unique window. Yaakov Lappin of the Lappin Assessment. You're the host of that. We'll talk more about that later. But first of all, tell us your assessment right now of the war that's going on between Israel, Iran, and the United States.
Hi, Chris. Always great to be with you. I think that what's happening right now is that both Israel and the United States are in a window of opportunity regarding Iran, in which they have achieved aerial superiority over the skies of pretty much the entire country at this stage. And what that means is that they are able now to go down their target list and pick off the remaining key military and terrorist capabilities of the Islamic Republic of Iran. We've already seen Israel and the United States severely degrade the ability of Iran to fire surface-to-surface ballistic missiles. They have not eliminated it, but they have certainly greatly decreased it. And we see the numbers. The volleys are smaller and they're less frequent significantly compared to what they were in the first 2 days of this war. So that's certainly visible through the numbers, even if it's not immediately felt in the home front. And the leadership of Iran has sustained a massive blow from that opening historic Israeli Air Force strikes involving 200 fighter jets, really surprising Tehran and eliminating Ayatollah Khamenei in his bunker and 40 senior Iranian leaders. And from that moment on, we see the IRGC being targeted. We see its bases being targeted. Last night, the Israeli Air Force conducted 400 strikes in Iran. That's a huge number, eliminating senior terrorists and IRGC facilities, including an air command center, which was basically used to coordinate all of the Iranian air and missile and UAV activities that was conducted by the IRGC, which is the elite military organization of Iran. So we're seeing systematic degradation of capabilities. And in response to that, the Iranians are trying to signal that they're still in this fight. And they're doing that by continuous missile and UAV fire on Israel and on Iran's Gulf Arab neighbors. And they've announced yesterday that the son of the late Ayatollah Khamenei, the supreme leader. Mujtaba Khamenei is going to be the next supreme leader. This is a very defiant move, deliberately designed to signal that the fanatical jihadist Shiite ideological line is going to continue dominating the Iranian leadership.
Talk about the priority of trying to target all these ballistic missiles and the ballistic missile launchers.
Right, and it's very important to distinguish between them because the immediate threat is the launchers. I often compare the launchers to guns and missiles to bullets. If you run out of launchers or guns, it doesn't matter how many bullets you have, you can't fire any. So the priority for the Israeli Air Force is, first of all, to go after the launchers. Now, based on the figures that they're releasing, they've already eliminated well over 65% of the Iranian surface-to-surface missile launchers. Those are made up of both stationary missile bases, most of those have been destroyed, and the mobile missile launchers. These are basically trucks. We've seen images of them. They look like civilian trucks. They're disguised deliberately, but then they can stop, pull over on the highway, and suddenly the roof opens up and a ballistic missile can come out of that truck. And it's much trickier to go after those because they're dispersed around the country. It's a very large country. Yesterday, I had the opportunity to interview an Israeli Air Force drone operator, and he shared some of the work that's being done to suppress that. And the assessment in the Israeli Air Force is that as time goes by, they're going to eliminate the launchers, they're going to continue to eliminate the stockpiles of missiles, and they're going to really focus at this stage on the production capabilities of ballistic missiles, destroying the industries, the weapons industries, which are really just industries of death. All we have to do is look at what happened at Bet Shemesh last week with that deadly missile attack that got through the defenses to understand what the Iranians wanted to achieve. They wanted to build 8,000 of these missiles by next year, Chris. So this is what it's about. This is the top priority: the leadership, the ballistic missile production, launch capability, and much smaller compared to the previous war in June, but also targets have been struck linked to the Iranian nuclear program.
Well, great analysis, Yaakov, and I subscribe to the Lappin assessment. I highly recommend it, especially during the days we're living in right now. Thanks so much, Yaakov. Our next guest brings a spiritual perspective, Rabbi Pesach Wolicki from Israel 365. Here's our conversation about this unique moment in history. Recently, you talked about the book of Ecclesiastes, Pesach. You said there's a time for peace and a time for war. What time is it?
Yeah, that verse, that whole section in Ecclesiastes, a time to build and a time to destroy and a time to love and a time to hate and a time, it sounds almost like a nursery rhyme, and people don't realize how difficult that passage really is, because when Ecclesiastes, which was written by King Solomon, when Ecclesiastes says that there's a time for war and a time for peace, it's really saying to us that we need to know what time it is, and we need to know how to pivot, because as people of faith, we want it to be a time for peace. We always strive for peace. We work for peace. That's the ultimate goal. And if we think that we're in a time for peace and really it is a time for war because our enemies brought that upon us, or because the time has come to defeat evil, then we're going to make grave mistakes. We have to know that it's a time for war. And the Bible actually instructs us on how to pray during a time of war. And I'd like to turn everyone's attention to Psalm 83. There's a lot of people who are wondering about what to pray right now. What exactly are we praying for? Psalm 83 is really a prayer in time of war. It's a prayer for defeat of the enemy, for defeat of those who stand in the way of God's will being revealed. And most importantly, in the very final verses of that psalm, beseeching God for victory over our enemies, it specifically asks God to bring shame upon our enemies 3 times in the last 3 verses. And it might be a little bit confusing to people, like, why do I care if my enemies feel shame? I just want them defeated. I want them to leave me alone. But the psalm itself answers the question. The final line of Psalm 83 says, so that they may know that God is most high over all the earth. The only way, I'll translate this into political terminology, Chris. In World War II, when Franklin Delano Roosevelt declared that the only acceptable end to the war was unconditional surrender by Nazi Germany and Imperial Japan, who were both genocidal ideologies, he wasn't just saying we want total victory. He was making an ethical point, a moral point. The only way to to change the mindset of people who are indoctrinated by an evil ideology is to bring unequivocal defeat on that ideology. When they see their leaders unequivocally surrendering or being unequivocally defeated, that causes people to have a change of heart. And that's what that psalm is saying. By bringing shame upon our enemies, shame means that people only feel shame if they recognize they've done something wrong. Right now, these jihadist enemies don't feel shame. They're proud of what they do. Look at what the Hamas guys did on October 7th. They filmed their atrocities themselves. They weren't ashamed of them. We need to get them to a point of defeat where they recognize that what they've done has been defeated, and that gives us a chance to root out this jihadist genocidal ideology. So when this psalm calls for shame upon our enemies, it's really calling for the whole world to recognize the true definitions of good and evil so that God can reign supreme over all the earth. Yeah. So everyone should be praying Psalm 83 at this time.
And I believe that that was being prayed in synagogues, especially after October 7th. Rabbi Pesach Wolicki, thanks so much for joining us.
God bless you.
In Iran's neighbor, Armenia, churches and humanitarian groups are getting ready for the possibility of thousands of Iranian refugees crossing the border. CBN's Operation Blessing, along with Armenian and Iranian Christians, is preparing to help anyone fleeing the violence. George Thomas brings us the story.
Inside a small church here in Armenia, the sound of Persian worship fills the room. But this congregation is different from most churches here. Each person is a refugee from Iran, men and women who fled persecution and found safety across the border. Now, many in this church are anxiously watching, worried about family members still trapped inside the country.
When I am anxious, I constantly pray and believe that it is the powerful hand of God that is upon my family.
As war engulfs their homeland, those prayers carry even more urgency.
May God truly help us, and may Iran be cleansed of the Islamic Republic and the roots of their oppression and tyranny be eradicated from my country.
Nellie became a Christian after she saw Jesus in a dream. She says her faith keeps her steady as she follows the news from home. We've taken precautions to protect her identity.
God is faithful to the promises He has made to me in my life. So because I have seen in the past that He is faithful, this is what gets me through each day.
Others here described the repression that forced them to leave Iran in the first place.
The Islamic Republic is very, very cruel, and we've endured this for 47 years, never imagining we would ever get rid of it.
Still, many feel a complicated mix of grief and hope.
It's a paradox because I'm both sad and happy at the same time. Sad because so many of my friends are being killed in the middle of their city streets, but happy because a foreign force has come to help us.
As the war intensifies, Armenian churches and humanitarian groups like Operation Blessing are getting ready for what could come next.
We see the situation, it goes to another level, and so we have to be prepared.
Samson Murchian, a longtime Armenian pastor, is working with Operation Blessing to assemble hygiene kits, food packages, and emergency supplies in case large numbers begin crossing the border.
Orphans Promise have a long-time relationship with Pastor Sam and his church, working in the region for many years. Right now, we're activating this partnership to work with him for the potential wave of refugees coming out of Iran.
Over the weekend, Armenian Christian volunteers joined in, stacking box after box with relief supplies. Murchan has an army of volunteers ready to move at a moment's notice.
They are ready for 24/7 to help not only in here, also in the border.
Some relief boxes were delivered to the small Iranian congregation that meets in Yerevan. For these Iranian believers, it's not just about geopolitics, it's very personal. Every single person in this room has family members today in Iran. And now they're only not just praying for the regime to change, but also for the chance to go back to their homeland.
My dream is that we can worship God in a free Iran and proclaim the true God to the people. This is the dream that all of us, the servants who were exiled from Iran, have in our heads.
George Thomas, CBN News, Yerevan, Armenia.
When the sirens wail in the Israeli town of Bet Yam, 90-year-old Holocaust survivor Sonia faces a terrifying reality. Her limited mobility makes reaching a shelter nearly impossible. But now CBN Israel is stepping in to provide a life-saving rescue, proving that even in the heart of war, each one's safety matters. Take a look.
As Israel faces an intense conflict with Iran and near constant missile barrages, the nation's most vulnerable are caught in the crosshairs. Among them is 90-year-old Sonia, a Holocaust survivor from Romania, living in the coastal city of Bat Yam. When war broke out on February 28th, she was forced to flee to a bomb shelter 8 times in a single morning. Now, Roberto Torres Cedillo is in Bat Yam with CBN Israel's response team.
CBN Israel is on the ground, mobilized, assessing the situation and providing help to people in need, specifically elderly and Holocaust survivors in Bat Yam. There are several that are unable to leave their home, their apartment in a safe way. As you know, because of their age or health problems, they can't leave fast enough. And when that siren goes off, you got about 1 minute and 20 seconds to move from where you are and get to the miklat, get to the bomb shelter. And many times they're not able. And this can be a matter of life or death.
Sonia's mobility issues mean the shelter is often out of reach, leaving her vulnerable every time the sirens wail. In her moment of greatest need, she turned to a familiar source of hope. Sonia knew CBN Israel had her back in the past, and she knew she could trust them to see her through this crisis too.
Thanks to the donors of CBN Israel, we're able to be here on the ground and give them tangible hope.
Sonia's life changed the moment CBN Israel arrived to move her out of Bat Yam and into safety. This immediate intervention is only possible because you choose to give. Your support ensures that even during war, people like Sonia can find the stability and peace of mind they so desperately need.
Well, that's all for this edition of Jerusalem Dateline. Thanks for joining us. Remember to follow us on social media, and you can access CBN content through our CBN News and other CBN apps. Please keep praying for wisdom for President Trump and Prime Minister Netanyahu, and that justice and freedom would be brought about in Iran and all of the Middle East. I'm Chris Mitchell. For all of us here at the Jerusalem Bureau, we'll see you next time on Jerusalem Dateline.